Okay, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started. There'll be probably somebody else. This will be our last program that we'll have at the museum tonight, so next time we'll be in the training union. Tell I'm a Baptist.
That's right, I remember those
The
days.
training center, or Union Road, or whatever. It's gonna be, our next program will be down there. So might tell you a little bit about that in a little bit. But we want to welcome Jeff Ramsey from Cramerton Historical Society. And he told me at first he was coming with his wife.
Yeah, well.
I don't know.
She went down to Texas today, she brought him to Cramerton Middle School.
He does have a wife, but it ain't.
Okay, so we'll just get y'all started and
Okay.
then, tell us about your books too. Because
Okay.
we want to buy one from them.
All right, good, good. Oh, first of all, I am Jeff Ramsey. I have many hats, that's why I wore one today. And my good friend Richard Atkinson, he moved to Cramerton 20 years ago. And usually
25.
you can't find people invest in historical society if they're not from here.
Yeah. We got one.
Him and
I actually used to live in Cramerton.
well, we'll forgive you. But literally, we modeled our museum after this one. We went to a lot of museums, looked around. We thought this was the best one we ever saw. So kudos to y'all, because Richard and I, we took pictures and stuff. We didn't steal any of it. But we thought this is a button-up group because you can tell how everything's laid out. You know how it is. You go to some museum, they got stuff piled up, dust all over it, all that. And we were extremely impressed. Also, it is an honor to be here tonight for your last one. Y'all were desperate to have me to be your last one. But my heart goes out to you. I watched what was going on, and I was praying that they would change their minds. But as we all know, these little mill home towns are changing before our eyes. So it is a privilege to be here tonight. So Gary already seen Dixie in action. I'm glad you're the only one. So I'll read the bio. She's the author of this book. And we commissioned her to Cramer Historical Society to write the trilogy. Because when we had the centennial in Cramerton in 2015, I had all the Cramers come by. And Warren Cramer lived in Charlotte, and he was pretty much the historian of the Cramer family. But most men has it here, but they can't get it on paper. He had great history, but we knew, and he's had it in his head for 40, 50 years. So I had to get Dixie to pull that out of his head and write this trilogy. And he wanted to write a history book. And I said, Warren, nobody will read just a history book. So we finally talked him into getting this done. So it's wonderful. Dr. Dixie Abernathy is a former public school teacher, principal. She's got central office administrator, but she was assistant superintendent of Gaston County School. Now she's a professor and chair of the Cato School of Education program at Queen's University in Charlotte. Dixie holds degrees in education from Wake Forest University, Winthrop University, received her doctorate in education leadership from East Carolina University. Her most prolific author collection includes numerous of novels published under a pen name Jordan R. Samuels. That's her 3 children's names, and she used that as a pen name. In 2022, she has written her 5th novel. She was asked to become involved in writing this incredible, timeless journey of Stuart Cramer family and founding of the town of Cramerton. Dixie is a proud citizen of Cramerton, North Carolina, and it's called Cramerton her home for 30 years. She originally from Dallas. So how Richard and I kind of got into this, after our centennial, we created Cramer Historical Society, and we knew we had a lot of pictures and artifacts. So we said, hey, and my great uncle, Ted Reese, was part of the Three Amigos. And of course, he's passed now. He was 95, but he's a Reese Hardware. Anybody remember Reese Hardware in Cramerton? It's right there where Baker's Furniture is. So that's the Reese family. But I'm a fourth generation of Cramerton. My great-grandfather came down with Mr. Cramer in 1915 because he sold out all his furniture industry in Thomasville. And you'll find out a lot about Thomasville in this trilogy. The other thing, it's not about Cramer, this trilogy. That's a first, right, Richard? It's more of an America story, especially a North Carolina America story. I mean, when you start this, it starts in 1780 in New Bern, North Carolina, in the Revolution War. A little colony in New Bern. And it was a gentleman named Moses Lamp. And we covered, and that's the promise of the nation, where this book starts in 1780 and goes all the way to 1865. So Gary, you ever have any comments, let me know, because he already read it. So to go back, Stuart W. Cramer, our founder, was a textile leader. And when I say that, he built and designed over 150 mills in the Southeast. One of the first one was Highland Textile Mills. Now it's Noda, North Davison, they got all these other places. He built that in like 1902. He built Chronicle Mills in 1902. And he knew Robert E. Lee well. This is, and you'll find this in the second book. Him and William Carey meet each other in 1902 at Chronicle Mills in Beaumont. That's the only thing I'll tell you. So you'll find out later, because then you say inventor. He had over 60 patents designed he applied for and got. And then he's known for the word air conditioner. In 1906, he's in Asheville at a trade show, and you had these speakers that had new ideas, new things. So he came out and says, I want to air condition my textile mills. And we all knew what textile mills were. That was us for 100 years. Gaston County was the largest manufacturer of yarn in the world at one time. We had a mill on the corner and a church on the corner, everywhere, every mill village. So the reason why he was interested in air conditioning, he figured out with all this friction, spinning, the yarn kinks up and snaps. So if you add moisture back into the plant, it runs a lot smoother. But there was many benefits of it. It kept the lint down, and everybody started figuring out it's gotten cooler. So it was three things that started that. So as you see, there's this massive tree, and I know probably a lot of y'all probably already started looking at your ancestors and tracking them. Well, that's why we started this family tree on each book, because it starts out with 2 branches and then expands to a massive tree. Alright, so you see here, as I mentioned, we commissioned Dr. Dixie Abernathy. She was working with Warren Cramer, but we wanted to get the 250th anniversary of this trilogy out before 250th anniversary. So we got stalled, and then I stepped in, and Richard now says, hey, we'll build an editorial team to help support you get this thing across the finish line. And that's what happened. So it was very collaborative effort. We all got along real well. We didn't fuss or anything.
For the most part.
And also, if you see, there's 3 gentlemen in here really helped us tell the story. Warren Cramer, of course, he graduated Duke University in the history, and his dad was George Cramer, and George told him after he gave him his diploma, he said, you need to do something with your diploma, write about my father, nobody knows about it.
He's the grandson of Stuart Cramer.
Yeah, it's crazy. He should be 97 years old. Like the gentleman here, Stuart W. Cramer III, is 97 years old. So you'll figure this out in book 2 and 3, where's a big gap is in there, because he's 30 years difference. And but he gave us a ton of information too. And the other gentleman is Damon Vickers. He's the great grandson of Catherine Cramer. That was another child of Stuart W. Cramer. He had 3 children. And he gave us a ton about Catherine Cramer. Catherine Cramer was just as successful as her 2 brothers. She started a culinary institution of art program of America. It was started at
Culinary
Yale.
Institution of Art of America in Hyde Park, New York. After World War II, to give the veterans a place to
Jobs.
learn a skill and to get a job.
So she was married to the president of Yale University in 1946. She lost her son, one of her sons in World War II. His name was Stuart Cramer. So she was inspired to help all the veterans, and they started a little culinary art school in the Victoria House on campus. And then she moved to Hyde Park. I think she was good friends with the Vanderbilts, and they invested the money in building this thing. It's the largest institution of culinary art in the world, still going.
And they sponsored the culinary program at Stuart Cramer High School.
Yeah.
The kitchen is dedicated to Catherine Cramer.
So here's that good-looking group that I showed you. Literally, that first book was delivered from Amazon to us. So we needed somewhere to find a historical spot. So this is Maymont. Somebody mentioned to me that she's been there. So Dixie's to the left, Warren's to the right, my wife's to the back on the right, I'm me, Doug Lynn, and Richard Agnes. So it was a great effort, and we enjoyed doing this. All right, so the family tree of the trilogy. We're going to cover 6 generations. And it goes back to Moses Landon. And that's where I need to get that down, that other thing. Okay, good. But the first 3 generations mostly is in book 1 and a little bit of book 2, and then it transfers to the other 3 generations. So Dixie and I coordinated some, especially Stuart W. Cramer. He lived in Palm Springs, California. So we would call him and Dixie would interview him about 10 different times, telling us all these stories. And then Damon Vickers, same way we did it by phone. Of course, Warren was here. He lives in Cramerton 6 months, and to get the tax break, he goes to West Palm Beach. Because they used to live in Charlotte. He grew up in Charlotte, and they sold out. It was right there at the Charlotte Country Club. All right, so I tell you, Dixie done a fantastic job on this. I saw that gentleman looking in the back of the book where she traced every information she got in the back of that book. Volume 74, historical on volume 1, volume 287, and volume 3, 159. And why that increased so much, we had all the grandkids telling us the story, so we was able to really get it firsthand. Go ahead.
So we call this a historical novel, and it's really based on history, and then Dixie filled in the historical events with real life, imagining what the life of those people were and elaborate on that to build the story. So, and you can go back to the back of the book and it tells you, it's all footnote, it tells you what the history, the actual history is, and then her link to it. So did you follow, when you went through the book, did you check?
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting in that it had thoughts italicized and conversations nobody was there to witness all that, but, there's probably a different level of interest to it.
Yeah, a lot of it was family stories, you know, passed down, and so, you know, how much of a family story is actually history, we don't know. But what she did know is documented, and what was not was added in, and you can, in my opinion, you can't read the book and know when the history stopped and when the novel kicked in, which was the genius of
Yeah,
it.
she blended it extremely well. We had a lot of comments about how she was able to create this conversation and dialogue with people never met in life or anything. But really, usually when you're doing fiction, you're just making up characters. These are real people. She still was able to do the dialogue and conversation between each other. So it was pretty neat. So of course, here's Promise of a Nation. It goes from 1780, starts out in the Revolution War. It don't stay long in the Revolution War, and Moses Lamberth and his wife Tabitha moved to Thomasville. It wasn't existing Thomas. It was up in Davidson County and Rowan County. It wasn't set as a county yet because it was early, late 1700s. So I can tell you a little bit about it. Promise of the Nation has been #1 release. We're in historical fiction category, and we was #1 all of July. We released it July the 4th. They're a very patriotic family. The other book is released this past on Labor Day, September 1st, because they employed a ton of people in furniture and textiles. So we thought that would be a perfect time to roll another book out. And the third book goes out Veterans Day. They fought in every war imaginable. And that's why I tell them, it's America's story. Revolution War. In the Civil War, you had Yankees and Confederates and their family members fighting together. You remember the old mini-series North and South? That reminded me of everything when I read that about the North and South of Patrick Swayze. And I think it was in the mid-80s. That's when they had mini-series. Now we're doing all this streaming. So the family tree of the trilogy of the 3 generations, and you can't see that. I don't know. I couldn't get that, so I'll probably have to tell you. But these are Stuart W. Cramer Sr.'s children. Catherine Cramer was the oldest, Stuart W. Cramer Jr., and then later they had George Cramer. George Cramer, where Warren came from, but I think he had him when he was like
But
40
you
something.
didn't start off with the original tree though, and
Right,
Thomas.
oh yeah, the Thomasville tree. Go ahead.
Well, what's important about this is the book cover. You will see that's the Thomas mansion, right?
Oh yeah, that part, okay, I forgot.
In Thomasville, it wasn't Thomasville at the time. And if you look good, you see Army tents around here. And
That's a
That's
big part
you-
of the story.
that's the Union Army. This was at the very end of the war. It hadn't even stopped in some places, but the war was officially ended. So they were camped out in Thomasville at the Thomas's plantation. And one of the leaders here in the Union Army was Cramer.
That's
So,
right.
so that's where you're gonna see where the Cramers and Thomases came together. Jenny Thomas and Mr. Cramer. So that's how it all links together. And he stayed down here. He didn't go back up north. He stayed here.
So that said, also, well, we're getting to him anyway. Hold on a second. So here's part of the Revolution War. as we all remember, we don't remember, but most of these people didn't have uniforms. These were farmers or anybody. And Moses Lambeth literally just got married. 3 months later said, I'm gonna go fight. And left his poor wife, a newlywed, on a little cabin with a farm to deal with. So, and the other thing you'll notice when you read this, there's very strong women here. You wonder how they survived all this, because they had to take care of the house while the man went out there and didn't know if he was gonna die the next day or not. It's just amazing how we complain about there's not enough air conditioning and all that. I couldn't imagine how they lived back then and survived this, especially the Revolution and the Civil War. So here's John Thomas of Thomasville, the founder of Thomasville. 19 years old, he marries a Lambeth. And is Tabitha? No, yeah. Lambeth. But he was in politics. He started the furniture industry. But he was a North Carolina senator for 12 years. And you remember that speech he did on the floor of the legislature? I'm not going to tell you everything, because I like keeping things from everybody. So that's powerful what he did. It's amazing, his foresight.
He was in the minority.
Yeah. So, but he was, also I thought Dixie did a great job as a statesman. He always did the right thing, just like letting the Yankees put tents in front of his yard. He didn't say, you know, get out of my yard. He accepted what was going on and knew he had to move on. And also he was broke. Guess what he bought? Confederate bonds. There was nothing after the war, zero. So they had to make a big comeback, and they do. So let's see, the next one. All right, here's a picture of the Civil War. As we all know, that was the worst thing that ever happened to us in America. It's amazing we come out of it, to be honest with you. And then, now we're back to Rise from Ruins. And Richard, tell them about them pictures. And they pick that up. Just tell them what's going on in there.
I'm not sure I know.
Yeah, you do. There's a Navy boat. The furniture.
Well, you tell me.
Okay. So what we did besides the tree, we're growing a tree, but also Stuart W. Cramer ended up going to the Naval Academy. He loved being on ships. The other part is the Industrial Revolution after the Civil War. Because we didn't have any industry, we was all farmland. So the Thomas family and the Cramer family started in 1866. Thomasville chair, the famous chair. And we would have pictures and everything, but I told Dixie to condense it because she knows a lot more than I do on this. So, but yeah, so if you ever look, you can see, and then the railroad, the train. He brought the train. That's why they named the town after John Thomas. He was in the legislature, so he talked him into running the railroad right down through where he lived at. So back then, you could bring a lot of industry in, and they was able to do it with furniture, with that industry. So I can tell you a little bit about Rise from Ruins. It became #1 hot release probably the day after September 2nd. But the other interesting thing, Amazon threw us in a different category. And we started out with historical fiction. You know where we're at now? In faith and religion. And we was like, and how in the world do we get on that? They have these, what do you call them, algorithm?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we appealed to them. We sent an appeal and says, wait a minute, we would be better in historical fiction. So we must have a lot of faith in the book. So that for some reason put us in there. And we're doing well. I think we're out of the top 100, we're like number 20 in that right now, even the second book. So yeah, we're happy with what's going on. And actually, the Breakfast Club today, I asked about 3 or 4 people, and they all said, I think the second book's even better. So that's good to hear.
Tell them what years that goes through the second one.
Well, I'm gonna cheat, my notes here. The first one's 85 years. This goes from 1865 to 1913.
I read there was some romance in the second one, ladies.
Yeah, well, even the first one it is. The first one's really
It was the
strong.
second one.
Well, you'll find what
The real
Stuart W.
romance.
Cramer Sr. went through is unbelievable. He'd come out on the other side of romance. But yeah, it was funny. Stuart W. Cramer III has read the first book, and I asked him, and he said, I didn't think they was ever going to touch each other on this romance court. But back then, you think in the 1860s, that's how it was. It was unbelievable. I laughed at him. He's got his own book. He married 2 Hollywood stars in 1950. So he went to Hollywood. So I'm telling Dixon we need to write a book for us that's over my dead body. So Warren will be it. But there's so many other stories. That's why even when we said that, we was originally going to do one book on the founder of our town. So when Warren and Dixie sat down, Warren would say, oh, I can go back to the Mayflower. So hold on, I don't want to go back to the Mayflower. Bring it to somewhere else.
Literally, it goes back to, it can take the Cramer family back to the Mayflower.
Yeah, coming off the Mayflower.
So this is like a Stewart family trilogy, really.
It is, and you know, we've had publishers we've talked to, you know, big places that would promote it. They said, first of all, who in the world did a trilogy that quick? Because it takes years to put this on. I said, she's a force of nature. Because Warren says he's never, we knew Warren would never, he'd be 90 years old talking about this book he was going to write. So we made his dream come true. But yeah, Rise and Ruin, you'll see, you got to realize the Civil War has destroyed the South. And that's where you're coming. Financially, it's ruined. No industry. Union hates us. And you'll find out how bad they hate you. I thought Dixie penned real well about the animosity between the North and South. You never heard it after the war. She tells you about it. And when he goes to the Naval Academy, he feels it. A rebel coming to, you got to realize the Union ran everything. The North ran everything even afterwards. Even Warren was in boarding school and got beat up because he was from the South. So it's really good what she did there. Oh, speaking of Naval, here we go, the Naval Academy. Stuart W. Cramer went at 16 years old to the Naval Academy. It's hard to get into the Naval Academy, especially a rebel. So his, you know, his grandfather, John Thomas, had some clout. They wrote letters, talked to congressmen and tried to get him in, and he did. So that's where he starts in Rise to Ruins. And he graduates in 1888. We have the sword. So when you graduate from Naval Academy or West Point, they give you a sword. So we have that sword, but we never get to put it out that much. The town's got it in the safe. But we're going to get it back. Right? Like the Tommy gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will. So yeah, it's pretty, I wish we had a picture. And of course, you see here in Thomasville, what was really neat, Dixie has wrote about all these people, but she's never been to Thomasville, because really, the center was Thomasville. We go to the gravesite, she got to see probably 12 different characters
in that book.
right in front of her. Blew her mind. The other thing about it, they're the only town that has a Confederate and rebel buried beside each other. That was very unusual. They had them buried right beside each other. because they hated each other. So I have a guy from North Carolina, part of the 250 committee's gonna come down and cover that. But yeah, the furniture industry started with the Cramers and the Thomas. All right, so anybody recognize that? It's good. What is it?
It's a museum.
Yep. That's it.
Oh, wow.
Well, guess who started working there?
George Cramer.
Yep. So after the Navy, he went to Columbia University. What he majored in mining and.
Mining, yeah.
So a guy from the government asked him if he'd be interested in moving to Charlotte, and it was back to North Carolina to be the Asair. And you remember the gold rush around here at the time? Well, that's why they put that there. So it also had its own living quarters up top.
Yeah, they made gold coins, yeah.
Yeah. So he worked there for 3 or 4 years. And you want to tell him about the Tompkins and stuff? You're good at that. You want to tell him? Yeah.
He went to work for a textile engineer, really. Tompkins, what's the initial?
John Thompson.
No, L.A.
Yeah.
Anyhow, and he designed a lot of textile mills and furnished the machinery, and that's where Cramer learned the trade. He worked for him for I think about 6 years, and then started his own firm. And he was they called him a mill doctor.
Mill doctor.
Is what the terminology was back then, because he could fix everything. He designed the mills, he equipped the mills, he did the training. So, and he designed over 150 mills in the South. And most of the mills he designed, he took stock in the mill as part of his payment. So he wound up being a stockholder in a lot of the mills.
And his friend James Duke, everybody knew James Buchanan Duke?
Yeah, sure.
Well, they were best friends, and back then they all had money and they would invest in all the Chronicle mills. James Duke invested with Cramer, our mills, Cramer Mills, and Mays Mill, all Cramer, Highland, all that. So they'd have different investors into that. And actually, tell them about Duke Energy and where that got started.
Well, Duke Energy got started with the mills also. It was
Convert.
Southern Electric
Yeah.
Company.
So
Southern Electric Company. And you know, probably the first electrified mill was in McAdenville,
Yeah.
I think.
it is, and it's
Edison, what's
I
that?
think it was in Mount Hoffman.
Was it Mount Holly?
We-
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
was
you're
it?
right. Yeah,
Okay.
tell us about it then. What one?
Well, I was at the Mount Holly Mill.
Which one was on the?
All right, people help me out.
Well,
Mill.
everybody went
It's
from
got a
high
Is it
grade.
distillery.
Woodlawn? I don't know the
No,
name,
it's
Jim
got a-
would know, but
It's
it
got a
was in Mount
distillery.
Oh yeah, we had a
Yeah, we had yeah.
event over there last month. The
And,
baby shower.
and Edison was all in part of that
Yeah,
group also.
Edison was tied to it. They represented Edison, Westinghouse, and all
Yeah.
that. So they all collaborated through there. And Cramer basically, Tompkins kind of went this way, and he went like that because he was a superstar in what he did, and that part of it. But that's where a lot of the textiles
And
got started.
he wrote, Mr. Cramer wrote these 3 textile manuals, and it was everything from layout, building layout, to equipment, and then training the workers. So, and we actually have original copy of those their hardback books in our museum. And this actually, he wrote another one, and that was on air conditioning, and I think that was the last one in that series.
Yeah.
And we have those books.
So, and like, so, on, I don't think I got it, no, let's go back. So, air conditioning, so he started his own company, Cramer's, air humidification systems. So one of the first one he sold to was, Chronicle Mills for $1,200, I think it was. But he had, so him and Carrier had two different ideas. Cramer was trying to figure out conditioning those textile mills. Carrier wanted to condition what was happening in the environment, just in homes or whatever. So, but Carrier bought 11 patents from Cramer because he figured out relative humidity and all these other calculations about humidity, because Carrier didn't know. But he was a very intelligent guy, and he was a young guy too. When he was at Chronicle Mills, he was 28 and Stuart Cramer was 38. So Cramer kind of mentored him to get him started, and then he did his own patent eventually.
And, yeah, he went to the residential side or the people side of the
Yeah.
equation.
So that's how that all got. And this, when he was at the Mint, he had two of his children, and then George was later. All right, remember the name, and why we chose that one, because Warren, Dad told him, nobody knows about Stuart W. Cramer, and somebody needs to tell the story. So the third book's all about him and his family, so that's one reason we come up and remember the name. And as you can see, you got a beautiful tree now. It's fully out.
And Stuart Cramer Jr., he ended up running the mills in Cramerton, but he went to
Well, this is he's
West
going
Point.
Yeah, so Stuart Jr. went to West Point, and all his friends was George Patton, Eisenhower, who else?
Yeah, he and Patton were in the same class and graduated.
Well, they're in this war here. This is
Yeah.
the Mexican War that nobody knows about. In 1908, I think. We found an article in New York Times talking about Major Cramer and what he did. So he got on horseback.
And Patton, he and Patton were leading that.
Yeah, they were
skirmish or whatever.
They were posted in Texas somewhere.
And they actually went in Mexico and chased
at night and got the hostages, or they kidnapped Americans and they got them out.
Yeah,
So-
Puncher Vita, right?
And their relationship just kept growing and growing. And of course, he visited Maymont tons of times. So we go to World War I. George Patton's over the tank division, and Cramer's second in command. That's a nice tank, right?
Better than the trenches.
So there's a couple good stories about that. Let me see, I don't think she's got this in here, no. She's took a lot out. So basically, Patton gets out of the tank and gets out and walks or something and gets shot, goes to a hospital. He writes a note to Major Cramer telling him to get me out of this hospital, I gotta go fight again. That sounds like a George Patton story, don't it?
Yes.
Guess what? He did. He did what his friend told him to do. So it's pretty neat. And then Major Cramer came home because of health problems in 1920. And then, should we tell them about my hat?
Yeah.
So, Mr. Cramer bought the mills and everything. He sold all his furniture industry in 1914. Sold it to the Lambeth family, his cousins stuff, because they kept having fires. And that's, you know about all the fires you have in furniture because of varnish and paint and all that. So he's getting in his health was failing a little bit because for 30 years he went full tilt. So his wife encouraged him to buy a little small textile mill village, and he said, hey, we're gonna make it a model mill village. And it looked like an island back then, right? Look at that. Look at that waterway. Well, they flooded the Cramerton in 1926. The reason why they invented the Cramerton Army khaki. Well, guess what color it was? Well, it was green too, so they had to dye green for military. So they received their first contract from the U.S. government in 1929. So they made exclusively for the Army and Navy.
And that was called Cramerton Army Cloth or Cramerton Khaki. And it was, when World War II broke out, that started the end of World War I. When World War II broke out, Cramer was making all the uniforms for military. It was making material for the uniforms, and it was called Cramerton Army Cloth. And they couldn't keep up with the demand, so the Cramers released the patent on the Cramerton Army Cloth, the khaki, to any other mill that would meet the specifications for this Army Cloth. So that's when J.P. Stevens, I mean, everybody started.
Cone mills. So Major Cramer went and converted all these mills over to me. So
And
they gave their patent up for 4 years.
Yeah, and they gave it up with no
Benefit.
financial benefit.
Well, also Major Cramer was appointed to the supply chain of the Army. So he would go over to Europe and see what they wanted. So we got, and they're not in here in this slide, but George Patton and Stuart W. Cramer Jr. was standing in front of the rubble like we saw a minute ago.
Right.
So this year, I worked with Congressman Moore. They're going to recognize the Cramer family for the 250th anniversary for their contribution to giving up their patent. So that will happen probably late June of next year. Also, he's going to put these 3 books in the Library of Congress. So that's huge. I mean, we're like, really? I'm like, I didn't ask for that, but that's
My
an awesome
newsletters
deal.
are there.
But it's really a North Carolina family. We were in
Our state man.
Our State magazine in November, and Brad Campbell, that did the article, did a fantastic article. He said, how in the world nobody knows about Stuart W. Cramer? He was probably the most successful North Carolinian than even James Duke. And I went, whoa. So he was really impressed. We're praying they're going to put this book in our state. They probably won't, because that kind of, like they're promoting books. They don't want to do that. So we gave them a great story to entice them a little bit, and I'll want to tell you that story. That was in the 3rd book. It was a big meeting right before World War II, and Cramer was in that meeting, and deciding if they're going in the war, because Churchill was burning the phone lines up, telling them, please help us, because we're going to die, all of us over here. So they started preparing about a year before to make sure they had a supply chain to start building all this equipment. I think that's about, oh, we do have George Patton. Good. So George Patton, there he is in World War I in front of his famous tanks. To the top left, what is that, Richard? I don't, is that an Olympic? It is the Olympics. George Cramer was in the Olympics in 1932 or 28. The house here is in Linville, North Carolina. Has anybody heard of Osceola Lodge? It's in Linville. It's been there over 100-something years. Well, the Cramers were one of the first investors into that. So that meeting was held in that house that I'm telling you about. That's your phone, Richard. I did have your phone. I turned mine off. The other one,
Thank you, Dick.
anybody remember when anybody was around for the Wall Street stock crash? Well, Stuart Cramer was there, and he saw somebody jump out the window and kill himself. Because he was at Columbia University or something. And of course, there's the little town of Cramer. Let's see if there's anybody. We did fill up our time. I
So
can't believe
none
it.
of the pictures are in the books.
The good news is there is some pictures, but even the better news is, since you brought that up, as Dixie impresses us all the time, well, she's gonna make a pictorial book, and it's gonna come with this Christmas gift trilogy book set. So if y'all are interested in that, give us your email. We're gonna let people know when we have everything ready. So far, there's 175 pictures in there. There is pictures in the
In this book.
No, there's not. If y'all want,
So
you want
what,
one of you.
I
I
mean,
got
what are
you.
you talking about in the pictures?
So all the pictures that did not make here, and Warren finally went back in his storage buildings and found more of them.
Yeah,
She
there's
said, "Why didn't
pictures
you
all
give
through
them
the
to me?"
book.
Yeah, but there's 107, so there'll be a part, and literally, these will be hardback books. It's actually cheaper. Also, it comes into a shipping box if you want to ship it to somebody, like from Florida or whatever, or you just want to buy it. We'll have a ribbon around it, a Christmas ribbon. Richard asked me, did you bring the box? I said, no, I forgot.
So, but what we need to tell them about is when book 3 comes out, it actually is on Amazon on November the 11th.
Look at that.
However, we're having it at the museum, Cramer Historical
Yeah, that'll be
Museum.
that Saturday before the 11th.
What's the date of
The
that?
8th. So November the 8th, we do she does a big presentation for every book, and we go to the Gascon Library.
And it'll be a release, so we'll be,
We'll
that
have these
book, you
books.
can buy that book
And the
at
trail.
the museum on November the 8th, and actually have Dixie there to talk about it
And
and
Warren.
sign the books.
And you can get, if you buy one today and bring your book, they'll sign. Warren and her, they done signed 300 or 400
Do
books.
you know a time on that? Because-
Yeah, it's usually 10 to 12 on a Saturday, probably November the 8th, if that's Saturday.
That's on
Everybody know
Veterans
where the
Day.
historical museum is?
We doing Veterans Day that Tuesday, but what time y'all do yours?
2 o'clock.
Oh, yeah, you got time, yeah. 10 to 12, yeah, you got time.
Does everybody know where the museum is in Cramerton?
Is it on?
Does everybody know where the swimming pool and the recreation
Old
center
Cramerton
is?
School,
Like,
yeah, it's right behind.
Our museum's in the basement of what was the field house. As you head down Julian Street, if you keep going straight, you're right, the pool's right in front of you.
Turn left.
It's the last building on the left, and we're in the lower level of that.
Yeah. They put us in the basement, y'all got.
So,
better
yeah,
than we did.
and our museum's about the size of this room, so.
All right, so
Ours
one
might be.
one thing we did to make this happen, we thought with our 250th anniversary, it's about faith and patriotism, family, a great American journey, and it truly is. I mean, you can't make this story up, and a lot of people are like, hey, ain't no way that happened, but it did. I mean, he'll tell you about John Cramer. That's amazing what happened to the guy. And it's true. That's what's amazing.
So, y'all have any hard questions for Jeff?
Oh, here it is, questions. I went right by it. Hold on, I went to 3 books if you want.
Yes.
It's slightly off topic, but I've always wondered why that old picture has so much more water around it.
Yeah, so they were preparing to get ready to start making Army cloth.
That was actually called Lake Cramerton, Cramerton Lake.
So the water was for the mill?
Yes. And if you look at Lower Armstrong Road where the water comes over, they made a, what do you call it?
Lowhead Dam. And Cramer put that dam in to back the water up.
Yeah, to
to
push
make
it back.
Cramerton.
Yeah, it had a
Lake
little
Cramerton.
stream, but then he's backed it up. And it was huge waterway. Half of it's grown up in now. I mean, he had what kind of boat did he have here? It's some little.
He had a yacht out there, but Ted Reese,
Yeah, that's right.
Ted Reese remembers, seaplanes landing on the river out behind Town Hall.
Yeah. Well, they had an airport where Cramerton Middle School is. All of them were pilots.
Yeah.
He would never let his kids
Kids
fly
fly
together.
Yeah, right.
So, y'all have any questions? We'd love to have them. You got one?
No, just talking.
No, I said- But yeah, you're right. I think, McCandless got Dynamo 32. It was from Westinghouse or something. But so Cramer was wanting to convert everything to electric motors, the ones he
Oh,
sold.
did it? Okay.
So that's why him and, Duke got together and he invested into that.
And Edison.
Early night, yeah, Edison and all them.
I think the dynamo is up
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
museum.
I'm a transplant, I'm not from down here, I'm a Yankee.
Well,
And up in Lowell, Massachusetts, there is still a working mill. You've heard of it?
well, you know why Lowell, North Carolina is named Lowell, Massachusetts, don't you? Because of Lowell. Go
But
ahead.
it's still a working mill and they sell material and you can take a tour of the whole place.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize you brought a great thing. All the industry was all up north. All thing we did was get the cotton and ship it up north. And of course, that was part of the Civil War part of it. So then, we had to figure out to start building everything ourselves, from furniture to textiles, and we had all the cotton here, so you didn't have to ship it anymore. So that's one reason the Industrial Revolution here started in the South after the Civil War. And book one talks a lot about Civil War. There's a lot of big stories in there. Gettysburg, you had Yankee and Confederate on the same battlefield, like right from each other. Didn't know it, but and then the other good story, after 50 years they go together as a Yankee and Confederate. So that family had
Reunion.
yeah. So anything else?
I think you had 3 guys came in here years ago.
Yeah.
I was
It was
thinking I
me,
was here
Ted,
that
and
day.
I was one of those, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And we showed you the whole museum.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes,
it.
sir.
See, he remembers
We were
it.
setting up
An
a
older guy
museum
that
that
came
time.
with you, wasn't it?
What's
An
that?
older guy that
Yeah.
came with
Ted Reese was.
Ted Reese.
Yeah, Ted Reese.
you? He was old then.
Right. Yeah.
Don't tell him.
He was really sharp.
Yeah.
Oh,
He passed away at 94, and he was really instrumental in getting our museum.
Yeah, all three of us,
No,
all
he
three of
wasn't
us-
with y'all in 94. This was 10 years.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it
I
was
know,
probably
yeah.
10 years
Yeah.
ago.
There's 3 of y'all came
Yeah,
with us.
that was us.
We started, that could have been in 2016.
Yeah, we started.
We had 2015 was our centennial,
Yeah.
and then we started a museum
Yeah, y'all were just
the
getting
next
started.
year, right. So we were just getting started. Didn't even have a place.
And we were just finishing up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. I would say I'd come back and help y'all move, but I'd be lying to you.
Supposedly, professional movers are gonna move us, professional museum.
Yeah, they owe y'all a lot, so I guess they'll work
Yes,
hard.
they have offered a lot, and we're gonna stick to the good.
That's right.
So-
Absolutely. Well, if y'all want, and like I said, Richard and I will sign it, we was on the editorial team, but Dixie and Warren will be here for the next signing.
So we got a few books to sell if you want to buy
Yeah,
one, or you,
there and there.
if you want them from Amazon, you'll get them
Yeah, you can
probably
go on.
tomorrow.
Yeah, I know, it's amazing. So, if y'all wanna come up, we got, bookmarkers and, yeah, we got enough books.
We're gonna buy
I got
Okay,
some books.
if you want to. If you want to.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So,
Thank you for inviting us.
yes,